If people are going to be so sensitive, I think that Love Island is the wrong show for them. Love Island All Stars, Sunday the 9th of February, and I can hardly remember what happened in this episode because it was so boring. But I do remember that Casey and Gabby get sent on a date for a birthday. I went live earlier and I was asking people who they thought was going to win, and so many people think that Casey and Gabby are going to win. Now, I kind of like Casey and Gabby together. However, I don't trust him because this is his third time on the show. It's very questionable. We know that he's been an F-boy in the past, and I don't think that he's just changed his ways like that, but people can change. I'm always saying that I love the way Gabby dresses, and tonight was no exception. I was absolutely loving her dress. So when they went out on their date, they had to be cliche. It drives me insane. When they sit down and they say, oh, I think we should be closed off or whatever. See, when they do that when it's on a date or like another special occasion, I can't stand it. It totally wastes it. It's like when people get engaged at Christmas or their birthdays or New Year. I know that some people are into that, but that would really annoy the fuck out of me. The other thing that annoys me is that it always seems to be the man who says, oh, I think we should be closed off. And then the women will be like, oh, I've been waiting on you asking or whatever. And she did say that she didn't know that she needed to hear him say that he really liked her until she heard it. But usually when the guy says, let's be closed off, she'd be like, oh, I've been waiting on you saying it. Why didn't you say it? What's stopping you from asking? We're not living in the 1600s. Anyway, their date went well, and I'm really liking Casey. I just don't know if I can trust him. They got a text saying that a couple was going to go into the hideaway, and Ronnie stood up and says, me and Harriet, I'm sorry. Why should him and Harriet get to go in? Him and Harriet have been together in the last season. Him and Harriet were together on the outside. They've had plenty of time alone together. Ekin-Su and Curtis should have been going into the hideaway. To be fair, I didn't really see them putting up a fight for it. So either they're not interested in each other or they don't want to look bad, but I don't think that they should have went in. It was absolutely ridiculous. They got a text and it was time to play the Be Honest game, and just as things started heating up, Elma all of a sudden wasn't feeling too well. Very suspicious. Some of these people are so sensitive. When they asked about the couple where somebody clearly wears the trousers and most of them picked Harriet and Ronnie, I would have picked Harriet and Ronnie as well because she's got him wrapped around her finger. Obviously because this whole scenario is planned. I feel as if a lot of the questions that they answered could have been Tina and Chugs, because when they says who's got the least sense of humour or the least compatible or any question that they were asking, right, they could have said Tina and Chugs because they're not even a couple. Like when they says who's most likely to cheat on each other, it's going to be Tina and Chugs because they're probably not even going to be together. In this situation, I felt like Casey was the only one who was being completely honest about everything. When they were asked what couple is the most likely to cheat on each other, and when they were picking Curtis and Ekin-Su, I seen where they were coming from. Because as Casey said, he says he was closed off, and then he went back on his word. And he was like, oh, it's early days, and I was getting defensive, but it's just a game. Like, the way they defend themselves sometimes, it's just embarrassing. Why can't they just say, alright, well, we'll see, or that's your opinion, or I see where you're coming from, or something. But Curtis trying to defend himself, it was just getting more and more pathetic. And nobody was saying that Ekin-Su was going to be the one who cheated. It was all because of Curtis, because he went back on saying that he was closed off, which is fair enough. But then Ekin-Su chose Casey, simply because she says, oh, we know your background, or we know how many women you've went with. And Casey has said that he's never cheated on anybody outside the house. And when she says, oh, because of what you done with Tina. And he was right to say, well, I wasn't seeing Tina at the time, we weren't closed off, we were just seeing each other. So to turn around and say to somebody you're most likely to cheat because you've got a high body count is ridiculous. I can't remember the question that they asked, but it was like, couple who's angriest or whatever it was. Somebody says, oh, they get angry, like they can't take a joke. And she was going mental, but it's true. Like, it seems as if Ronnie can take a joke most of the time, but Harriet gets wound up. She was more like that in the last season, and in this season she seems more chilled out up until this game. And when they were talking about who's the most likely to look through each other's phones, I actually thought Ekin-Su and Curtis, well, not really Curtis, but Ekin-Su and Harriet, I think that she would look through somebody's phone. But then when Gabby said, oh, I thought you'd mentioned to me you'd looked through his phone before, and she was like, no. I thought, you're just saying that? When they were asked what couple they thought was in there for clout, and Casey said Harriet and Ronnie, she went fucking mental, and that speaks volumes to me. When somebody gets so defensive like that, you know there's something going on, and Casey was right. She could have got back with him in December, but they've decided to go into the show and do it. This is what I've been saying since the start. I don't even think that they've been split up at all. I think that they've planned this. We're going to fake breaking up and we'll go into All Stars and we'll get back together. And then they also said, well, you two were on the last season and you're back in. And she was going mental, and then she told Casey to shut the fuck up. So Casey only defended himself, and then Ronnie was like, oh mate, like, as if stop. Excuse me, she's the one who told me to shut the fuck up. Obviously, if there was not cameras in that situation, she'd be getting the fucking head stuck on her. The fact that she's so defensive about them saying that she's in there for clout shows me that she's in there for clout. I mean, realistically, you only get defensive about something that bothers you. Like, if somebody had to slag your looks and it was something you weren't bothered about, you'd just be like, right, cool. But if you were paranoid about a certain thing and somebody mentioned it, then you're more likely to lash out, and that's exactly what she's doing. It's so clear. But then when they chose Ekin-Su and Curtis, she wasn't happy because she was like, I don't need clout. As if like, excuse me, I am so famous, I am so well known, I don't need Love Island for clout. It was pretty embarrassing. This also tells me that Ekin-Su is in there for clout. After this task, I feel like Gabby and Casey are most likely to win because Harriet had a cheek to tell him to shut the fuck up. She's needing to shut the fuck up and sit the fuck down. They got a text saying that the couples that received the most votes were vulnerable, and that was Harriet and Ronnie, Ekin-Su and Curtis, and Tina and Chugs. Now, let me be very honest with you here. I do not give a fuck who goes at the end of the day because I don't like any of them. But I voted for Chugs and Tina to stay just because I don't want her to win because she's already won, and I don't want Harriet and Ronnie to win because I don't like the two of them. And realistically, Tina and Chugs are not going to win anyway because Chugs is boring, and poor Tina, she's stuck with him. And I'm not really one for sticking up for Casey because in past seasons I've always said that he's a skis bag. But in this season, he has got a totally different personality all of a sudden. And I do think that he's playing a game. But I'm glad that he was honest with Harry, and he says, you could have got back with him when you've waited until you get in the show. Realistically, you picked Ron, but you were never going to be with Ron, you were always going to be with Ronnie. And I was like, yes, you tell her, we know our game. Let me know in the comments who you voted for to stay, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.